Ottawa is warning Canadians they may have a sense of déjà vu when it comes to this year's fire season. Last year's was historic. Approximately 15 million hectares burned. That's greater than the entire province of Nova Scotia. Ministers warn this year could be just as bad or worse. Harjit Sajjan is the Minister of Emergency Preparedness.
Currently, we know that there are several concerning trends. Southern Alberta, British Columbia, and Southern Ontario are facing extreme drought conditions. All these elements create conditions for a wildfire season like the last. With the heat and dryness across the country, we can expect that the wildfire season will start sooner and end later, and potentially be more explosive.
Let's bring in CBC science and climate reporter Anand Raman. Anand, officials are clearly bracing for a bad season. Could even be worse than last summer. How severe might it get?
I mean, there are already 70 wildfires burning right now. Northwest Territories, Northern Alberta, BC, some even out of control, most under control. So it's already underway. There are already fire bans in some places. There are prescribed burns going on to try to cut off those pathways so that fires can't spread. Officials today stressing the amount of money that they're spending on firefighting equipment and on firefighter training and tax breaks for firefighters. But all of this lends itself to, there's just an air of unpredictability when it comes to the 2024 wildfire season. However, with climate change, they know that this won't be the last way they prepare. Here's the minister with more on that.
Now, it is impossible to predict with certainty that the summer that lies ahead of us. But what is clear is that wildfires will represent a significant challenge for Canada into the future as the impacts of climate change continue to intensify. And the cost to Canadians are also growing every single year.
And not many Canadians don't have to be reminded just how mild the winter was for so many of us. So how much of an impact could that have?
I mean, we felt it. We felt it here. We felt it across the country. And unseasonable doesn't even begin to cut it. Environment and Climate Change Canada is saying we've had the warmest winter on record. Those months, December, January, February, 5.2 degrees warmer than the norm. And all that means less snow, less snowpack, less soil moisture, the kind of stuff that would slow a fire down. And I want to bring up a map here if I can. It's the current drought conditions across Canada, and in yellow, what's known as abnormally dry conditions. You can see that from coast to coast to coast. That's pretty much everywhere. And in the places where we expect wildfires to grow and be bad, they are under exceptional or extreme drought conditions. So it's super dry there, the kind of stuff that experts tell me that wildfires love. It loves to move through that dry conditions. And part of that problem is that the warm winter, it allowed wildfires to continue burning from last year over winter.
It really gives you a sense of just how bad it was and how bad it could be. We're also learning more about last year, the worst wildfire season on record. Take us through that.
I mean, just let me read some of these staggering figures. More than 6,000 wildfires burned last year, and as you said, burning more than 15 million hectares. Now, for context, the last record was in 1989, and it was only around 7 million hectares. So there was an enormous amount of land that was burned and lost. Of course, people were disrupted, more than 230,000 evacuations, and we saw that in the city of Yellowknife last year. In terms of the people fighting it, it took more than 2,000 armed forces personnel. 5,500 firefighters from outside Canada had to come and help, and tragically 8 firefighters lost their lives in last year's fire. So there was an immense cost in human life, as well as the expenditure to fight these fires. But one other cost is the public health cost. And even outside of these acute zones of evacuations and fighting these fires, we all saw it. We saw the smoke. It washed over the country and the continent. We saw apocalyptic scenes in New York and in Washington. And all that was carried on that wind is this particulate matter, which is a dangerous pollutant. And global rankings recently, Canada went up the most polluted countries because of that wildfire smoke. And it carries risks to our lungs, to our brain, to our heart. And it just proves that this year we need to prepare for that, regardless of whether we're near a wildfire zone or not.
Anand, thank you. That is CBC Science and Climate reporter Anand Ram in Toronto.